Industry Insights. I'm Elliot Maras, the editor of Professional Tool and Equipment News. One of the most talked about issues in today's automotive aftermarket is counterfeit diagnostic tools. The growth of internet commerce has made it easier for manufacturers of counterfeit tools to sell to the aftermarket. Some technicians knowingly buy these products, thinking it saves them money. But many comments on industry forums note that these tools typically become ineffective and can result in an incorrect diagnosis and/or cause damage to a vehicle. The National Automotive Service Task Force is an organization dedicated to addressing the service gap that presently exists in the automotive aftermarket. Many OEM automakers are active with the NASTF to make sure the independent shops have access to the tools, training, and information to work on late model cars. This fall, during the NASTF meeting during the Apex and SEMA trade shows in Las Vegas, the NASTF will address the issue of counterfeit diagnostic tools. And we're here today to discuss this with Skip Potter, the Executive Director of the NASTF. Skip, why is this topic on the agenda?
I try to talk with technicians almost every day, Elliot, and when I do, I like to ask them what service problems they're dealing with. Recently, a very accomplished technician started telling me about counterfeit tools, and I have to tell you, I was pretty surprised. I hadn't heard this concern before, but when I started asking around to some of the tool suppliers, it seems all the popular tool makers claimed they were being ripped off by the counterfeit market. This topic is on our November 6th general meeting agenda in Las Vegas because bringing issues like this into the mainstream industry discussion between OEMs and independent techs is exactly the role for NASTF.
Diagnostic tool manufacturers, both OEM tool manufacturers and aftermarket tool manufacturers, consider the counterfeit tools an issue. VehicleServicePros.com in the last few months conducted an online reader poll. We found that a strong majority, about 85%, said they never knowingly purchased a counterfeit scan tool. Skip, do you believe this figure is right? Is it representative of the technician universe? And if so, is counterfeit scan tools still an important issue?
I can't dispute the accuracy of your number, but it would be interesting to know how many of the 15% who did intentionally purchase a counterfeit tool are actually satisfied with that purchase. And I wonder if they're okay knowing the risks of the warranty and the support. Another number not revealed in your research is the number of those 85% who didn't intentionally buy a counterfeit tool, but later on they found out it wasn't a real deal, and I wonder what impact that did have.
While most readers who participated in this poll say they are not intentionally buying counterfeit products, there are certainly people unintentionally buying them. That's a factor to consider. The issue of counterfeit scan tools has gotten a lot of attention in technician forums. One thing that I noticed is that people define counterfeit tools differently. And if industry organizations are going to have a position on this, it makes sense that there is a clear definition being used. Skip, how do you define a counterfeit or a clone tool?
Thanks for asking this question. The real definition of aftermarket, OEM, clone, fake, copy, and counterfeit has been misunderstood, misstated, and confused ever since Henry built his first car, I think. This could make for another interview, but let me keep it simple. I think of counterfeit as a legal term. Dictionaries specify it to be an adjective, and they describe the item as a fake, they intending to deceive as if the item were authentic, definitions like that. The terms OEM and aftermarket refer to the source. An OEM tool comes from the automakers, either directly or by specific license, and an aftermarket tool comes from the aftermarket. A clone just means it's a copy of something, and that could mean that it's a clone of a legal copy or an illegal copy.
This is an important point. Counterfeit products are those that are intentionally misrepresented. Those of us following comments that technicians are making about this indicate some people are not using this term correctly. A tool that is misrepresented is a counterfeit or a clone. Many technicians working for independent shops believe that the automobile manufacturers themselves have some responsibility for creating the market for counterfeit tools. Their thinking holds that the OEMs have made their tools so expensive that independent shops cannot afford them, so the car owners will have to go to OE dealerships for service work. Skip, do you believe the OEMs are trying to make it hard for independent shops to afford OE scan tools?
I've been in this job for a little over a year now, and I have not detected any evidence that an OEM doesn't want to do business with the independent. However, I do see differences in the execution of their plans to supply the independent with service information, tools, and education. Some are more accessible, responsive, and even reasonable than others. You're asking a good question here. I think as NASTF makes this issue of counterfeit tools more visible, it's not unreasonable to expect that maybe an OEM might take a closer look at their tool pricing or their sales strategy and maybe begin to make some positive changes.
The OEMs are reaching out to the aftermarket. That is why many, if not most of them, are involved with the NASTF. However, the ability of the OEM car makers to interact will vary on a variety of factors. Hopefully, the NASTF will facilitate this communication. Assuming that the majority of industry members want to reduce counterfeit tools, what can be done about it, seeing that these tools are easily available on the internet?
You're right, most of the counterfeit tools are coming off the internet, and it appears that most of the counterfeit tool problem originates in countries that don't have sufficient legal systems to control their resident counterfeiters. NASTF is just one warrior of many in this fight. OEMs, tool manufacturers of all kinds, U.S. Customs, and others are fighting counterfeit tools to protect their property rights. What I hope NASTF can do by exposing this issue is to save technicians from being duped and cheated. Counterfeit tools could cost them more than just the savings between the price of the real deal and the counterfeit.
There are a number of people who are trying to address the problem of counterfeit diagnostic tools. There is no doubt it will be a difficult problem to address. The internet has become a big factor in today's commerce, and it is very difficult to police internet commerce. The aftermarket industry itself should be united on the need to stop counterfeiters. Counterfeiters are introducing inferior and ineffective tools to the market, and these tools are only hurting the integrity of the industry. Technicians who knowingly buy these tools are not doing themselves or their industry any favors. Perhaps other ways of addressing the problem will be proposed during the NASTF meeting this fall. Write and let us know what you think.